Welcome in to My Dogs Are Barking on MPW Digital. Welcome in. We're so excited to have you guys along with us. I'm Landon, and I got my man Austin back with me. Austin, it's good to have you, man. This is Mississippi State versus Georgia week. I'm glad you're here. Mississippi State did have some unfortunate recruiting news that we talked about on Monday, but will you rehash some of that?
Yeah, Mario Nash Jr., offensive tackle, I believe. Four-star decommitted from us. Took a visit to Florida State this weekend, so I thought he was going to commit there. He had been taking visits, I believe, and so it's hard to be committed when you're taking a bunch of visits. And I'm nervous about this one. I don't think I really don't see us getting them back. Man, maybe we do, but Cody Kennedy's got to lock in because I think we have one other offensive lineman committed, but he's not very highly recruited, and that's another guy, like I said last week, who's coaching for his job. I mean, our offensive line was I want to say unbelievably bad, but after watching last year, I mean, there's I do believe it. They've been terrible this season, and Cody Kennedy's obviously the offensive line coach. For anybody who doesn't know, and he's going to have to get some good transfers in there. But we got to get some guys who can actually play recruiting wise, because I mean, it takes a while for offensive linemen to mesh together. And if we're just getting a bunch of transfers every single year, it's not going to work. It's just not going to work. And we're seeing that this year. This offensive line's terrible. And four out of the five guys were transfers, and Albert Reese, the only guy who's back, only started 2 games last year. So it's hard to have a great offensive line when you got stuff like that going on. And then
Who's coming back next season, like on the offensive line? Like who's even returning? Ethan Miner's gone.
uh I really
Martinez
don't
is
know.
gone. Albert is Albert Reese have one more year?
I think he does. I think he's just a junior. I
But it's nothing.
think
There's nothing to like look really forward to in terms of, man, I'm glad we get this one guy.
no, not at all. I mean, unless Leon Bell left the team. I mean, Jimothy Lewis was the most recruited guy last year, and but he's just a true freshman this year, so I don't know if he's going to play next year. Hopefully he does. I mean, hopefully we got to put some better guys on the field next year. Maybe Luke Work gets some gets a lot better, but we're going to have to really upgrade this offensive line. And then Jaheim Otis from Alabama, Mississippi guy, and I believe his cousins with Kevin Otis, who went to Arkansas. I mean, the final two teams for Jaheim Otis was Alabama and Ole Miss. So I think Ole Miss is probably going to get him if I were to assume. If I were to bet on it, I'd say Ole Miss, but I think Mississippi State and Ole Miss are probably going to be the two teams that battle to get him.
Yeah, and what's crazy is Mississippi. He's a guy that Mississippi State desperately needs, but Ole Miss has a kind of a proof of concept. Like Ole Miss can say, "Hey, look, if Walter Nolan's out of here to the draft, man, you come right in. You get to play. You're gonna have plenty of cash, and then you have an opportunity to be just like what he just did." Mississippi State does not have an example to point to in the last 6 years or so. I mean, a real disadvantage for Mississippi State. The only thing I can think of is just if the NIL amount is absurd, which is kind of, I mean, do you really want to drain your NIL over, like, is he that quality of a guy to do that? I don't think so.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I don't know. I mean, it's probably just going to be a bidding war with Ole Miss. So I really see that, but I think he would start for both teams, obviously. But I mean, the one is a very winning program right now. One is on a complete rebuild. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see where he goes. But I mean, Lane Kiffin is, the portal king. I mean, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, he's done well, and of course, like Coleman Hutzler, like he's around Jaheim Otis at Alabama when he was there, but so was Pete Golding, the defensive coordinator. So it's not
Mhm.
the only, Mississippi State does not have like a lone advantage in that. But I don't know that on the defensive side of things, I don't have any sort of insider information with this, but you would think Mississippi State has been given some cash for this defense to say, go land somebody, go land
Yeah.
someone to help Isaac Smith out, because
Mhm.
otherwise, I mean, they're just in a lot of. Isaac Smith's a guy who returned next season. Brian Lanier, shout out to Paul School, will be returning. He's the third
Yeah.
leading tackler on the team. And outside of that, like what else are you gonna have to build on. So yeah, Mississippi State would desperately want Jaheim Otis, but Jaheim Otis has and he's got options. And Kevin Otis, that's a guy that the Mississippi State people thought they had locked down. And Arkansas,
Yeah.
Arkansas is just not the team I saw coming in that war
No.
because of the history that Mississippi State has. But like David Turner and the defensive line, they have not had a great home run of a person. I mean, Randy Charlton from UCF came in a couple years ago, and outside of the one play, I'm not gonna say one play, but like that one play versus Ole Miss in the Egg Bowl to kind of win the game, batting down the ball.
Yeah.
That's got to be it, right? That's like the last guy that Mississippi State brought in on the defensive line. Am I correct on that, or am I forgetting somebody?
Yeah, no, you're exactly correct. I mean, that was like 2021. I think we brought him in from UCF. I don't remember anybody else in years. It's been multiple years.
Yeah, and change is hard, but it's just weird seeing Mississippi State not have anybody on the defensive line generate a pass rush. On Monday, we did the show with Trey Tucker from Doghouse Podcast. He's the college football representative for Georgia, and so we were on Trey's show. Trey was on our show, and Trey was asking about the defensive line and if they're able to get a good push, and that he was a little worried about it. And I said, man, you don't. This is not something you have to worry about with this particular team. They
Mhm.
generate a big pass rush. So it'll be interesting. Yeah, Mario commits from Mississippi, a 4-star offensive lineman. Really could have used him playing time wise for next season. Who knows? These kind of guys who decommit, I don't. There's not a huge percentage that they come back and that they
Mhm.
like come back and stay committed. Before we move on to the next segment, can you think of the last person that decommitted from Mississippi State and then recommitted, like and stay committed and for them? I think the last.
Yeah,
I know it's happened, but I can't think.
I mean, just last year, I mean, Stonka, but he's only been here for a year. He's only a true freshman, but yeah, he decommitted when we were just absolutely terrible.
I
And
think it's
then
after they fired Arnett, right?
uh I'm pretty sure it was before him, before Arnett, but I might be wrong. But yeah, I remember he decommitted probably and committed back like a month ago, like a month after at the All American game.
Okay, that's right. But yeah, so the Bulldogs have got some issues. They are trying. They've got to figure out what they're going to do with that. Maybe Jimothy Lewis ends up being a guy that really progresses. I mean, he's a true freshman, so you can't expect him to be playing a lot or anything like that. But they need him for next season. So yeah, in this episode, we will be getting to our matchups for week number 7. We'll talk about the top games being discussed, and then we're going to do our against the odds segment where we will each pick a money line underdog to win. So that is very exciting. But hey, before we get to that, a lot of people talk about being rich. But what does it mean to be rich? Maybe it's less about reaching a magic number and more about discovering the magic in life. Skip Langley is your Batesville, Mississippi Edward Jones advisor, serving clients in the area and across the state. Count on him for financial strategies that can help support a life you love. Because the key to being rich is knowing what counts. Contact him today at 662 563 9843. And together, you can find your rich. Edward Jones, member SIPC. We move into our matchup segments, and there's some interesting games this week. This is the game. You guys remember before the season started, people were talking about this particular week. Remember, and we were saying how this is going to be a huge matchup week. And Austin and I committed to something on this Saturday night before we realized what slew of games are going to be played. So Austin and I will not be watching college football Saturday night. We will be spending quality family time. But man, that hurts. So I hope everyone enjoys
Yeah.
their time watching amazing football. I hope it's just the best, and we will be making great memories. So we move into the first game I want to talk about, Alabama and South Carolina. Alabama, in case no one heard, lost last week to Vanderbilt 40-35 in Nashville. And Vanderbilt this week is hosting South Carolina, Austin, and they are 21.5-point favorites. South Carolina, towards the beginning of the season, everyone was healthy. Lenore Sellers doing his thing, Rocket Sanders. They just seem to have slipped over the past couple of weeks. And Alabama, there's no way they're not going to be incredibly angry and fired up for this game, right? How's this game going to go?
Yeah, I think Kalen DeBoer is going to have his boys more than ready. I think the big question mark is that defense. I mean, the defense looked terrible against Vanderbilt, and they let up. And that second half against Georgia was terrible. So they're going to have to fix a lot of that defense. But I don't think I'm really stressing over this game. I think Alabama's going to come out ready to go. Jalen Milrose. I mean, he's still got to make a Heisman case if he wants to win it, because he did not look very good against Vanderbilt. He's going to have to lock in. But yeah, I think Bama's going to come back. They always play unbelievable football after they lose. And I think they're gonna show that on South Carolina on Saturday.
Yeah, I think Alabama's going to have this game over by midway through the first or second quarter. I think they're going to just absolutely destroy South Carolina. And South Carolina, I don't know how to say it, man. I was thinking about this earlier. The beginning of the season, they had those odds come out on like who's the first SEC coach fired, our first coach fired. Sam Pittman was like number 1. Billy Napier was number 2. Clark Lee was somewhere in there. But it doesn't look like – it looks like Sam Pittman is going to keep his job. Clark Lee is for sure. They might build a statue of Clark Lee at this point.
Yeah.
Billy Napier is in a little bit better situation than he was. It appears that the Billy Napier's got things a little bit better figured out. I think they're going to play Tennessee close. We're going to talk about that in a second. The first coach fired by the end of this season might just be Shane Beamer. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that can happen. He is very inconsistent, man. I mean, they beat the heck out of Kentucky. And then, I mean, they played Old Dominion a week before that and almost lost to him. He's just incredibly inconsistent. And Lenore Sellers is good running the ball. You got to make him run the ball, though. Not a great passer. Robbie Ashford needs to switch positions because he's wasting his time at quarterback. And so, yeah, they have a lot of things to figure out. I mean, they have a promising, Dylan Stewart's unbelievable, but he's acting like a dummy though on the field. But I mean, that's just a true freshman. But yeah, I could definitely 1,000,000% see that, especially if he loses a game or two more of the season, and that he's not supposed to lose. And so, yeah, I think Shane Beamer is probably number 1, honestly, right now.
Yeah, I'm pulling up South Carolina's schedule real quick before we move on, like their remaining schedule. So they'll lose this game versus Alabama, of course. But after Alabama, South Carolina, they're 3-2 currently. So they'll drop it to Alabama. Then the next week they go on the road at Oklahoma. Probably a loss, right? I mean, you're on the road.
Yeah.
Then you're off a week. Then you have A&M at home. That's probably a loss. And at that point, they're 3-5. Then they go on the road at Vandy, which at this given moment you'd think is a loss, maybe not, but at the moment looks like a loss. Missouri at home, Wofford, and then end the season at Clemson. Dude, they might finish the season 4-8, and at best 5-7. And this is his 3rd or 4th year, right?
Yeah, I was about to say, I think this is his 3rd or 4th year. So if he's going 6-6, 5-7. They're going to, South Carolina has a lot of fans, and they're not putting up with that. I think he probably is going to be gone.
Yeah, just seems like at this point you should know. And Shane Beamer seems like a really cool guy and like a good motivator, and he gets good recruits there. So like he seems to be a personal guy. He looks like someone's pastor, so maybe that he's got that kind of relational equity and thing. In this thing. But yeah, I think they'll lose big versus Bama. But speaking of Vanderbilt and Kentucky are playing this Saturday. And Vanderbilt is a 13.5-point underdog to Kentucky. Austin, what do we make of this game?
It's hard. It's hard because you don't know how, Brock Vandergrift's going to play. Vandy's going to be playing on an all-time high. And so I don't know. Is it in Kentucky or where is it being played?
It's in Lexington.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm gonna take Kentucky in it just because I think Vandy's gonna be shell shocked. They just had the best week of all those players' lives. Let's be honest, and And I don't know. I mean, I don't know how they're gonna come out. I mean, Diego's an unbelievable quarterback. He was unbelievable at New Mexico State. I think he brought them to a 10-win season last year with Jerry Kill as the coach. But I mean, I don't know. I think Kentucky's gonna win it, but that's a toss-up game, which is so weird saying. But yeah, I think Kentucky's gonna pull it out.
Yeah, and like we mentioned, Kentucky's is favored by 13 and a half. It's in Kentucky and it's a night game in Kroger Field, which looks awesome. I'd love to go to that environment at some point. It looks like a neat place to play at night. But yeah, I'm with you. I think Kentucky's going to win this game. I know everyone wants to pick Vanderbilt because they're kind of the sweetheart, as you mentioned it. It's not like they're just at a high; they're literally at an all time high. They have never experienced this type of oh my goodness, what have we just done kind of thing. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm taking Kentucky as well. We go back to this game. This is interesting. Tennessee and Florida. In this game, with Tennessee and Florida, is a game that I believe Florida is. Let's see. No. Tennessee is hosting Florida, so it's going to be at home at Tennessee for a 6 p.m. kick. Austin, what do you make of this game? I think Tennessee is favored right now by 14 points, so 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, it's in Neyland Stadium at night. I think that's valid. I think that 14 points is probably going to happen, if not more. I mean, this Florida team's really been struggling. They've won a game. Like I think they won like one game that they should have won and that they should have probably lost. But yeah, I think Tennessee by 14 is good. I would probably honestly take the over on that because I just think Nico, Squirrel White. I mean, they've got that Tennessee's offense is really good, and that Florida defense is not very good. So yeah, I like Tennessee in this one.
I think everything you just said is true. I think every and on most and actually I agree with everything you just said. But I think this game is going to be really, really close. I think this is going to be a one possession type of game. I think Tennessee is going to win it because they have better athletes and better defense. But I think Tennessee is going to win this game by a touchdown. I think Florida's going to play them really, really close. Florida's had a UCF last week, and UCF's not a very good team, but they have some athletes, and they held them to 13 points. Obviously, they beat Mississippi State, which is not to write home about this season. But Tennessee has a huge game next week. It's 2:30 kickoff. It's Alabama, and they want that game bad because they think Alabama's on the ropes. So all week they've been thinking, "Oh, dude, we're going to be able to take them down." They're not thinking about Florida. I think Florida is going to lose this game. I got Tennessee winning it, but I think Tennessee wins this one by 7. I think it's close. Maybe we might even be talking overtime close.
Hmm.
Um, Nico, I know he was on the road last week, but Nico he just was not phenomenal. And this is a
Yeah.
huge game. Like you have all eyeballs all over the place in this game.
No, that's true. I like that. I mean, I like that take. I mean, I've often said I don't think Tennessee's that great of a team. I mean, they run up the score against literally everybody. I mean, they don't play very anybody good. And Nico hasn't played a lot of good teams, and so this is going to be definitely a good conference test for him. So we'll see. I mean, I don't think that's definitely out of reach. I think that could definitely happen.
Ole Miss and LSU and Oregon and Ohio State, we will get to in our next segment. That's actually a part of our Against the Odds segment. So that's the reason we're not picking those right now. We will get to those next. But just two more here. Oklahoma and Texas. This seems like it's always a really good game, always really fun. Um, this is in the Cotton Bowl. This is the Red River rivalry. Last season, Oklahoma with a last-second victory over Texas, if I'm not mistaken. A huge game. This season, what is it? I think Oklahoma is an underdog to Texas by 14 or 14 and a half, something along those lines. I think it's 14 and a half points. Oh, no, right at 14 points. Yeah, Texas is favored. Austin, how is this game going to go? Is Oklahoma about to get throttled, or are they going to make this a game?
I don't know. I think they're gonna. I mean, I think it's probably going to be maybe a 15, 20 point game with Texas. I mean, Quinn Ewers is coming back. I mean, I don't think there's any chance of him winning the Heisman anymore with the injury, but I think that he wants to establish that he's still the guy. A lot of people were talking about Arch Manning. He wants to, put his name back out there. And what a better way to do that than the Red River rivalry. And yeah, Texas comes out by and wins by 15-20.
So you're taking the fact that Texas got Ewers coming back. They're just really powerful. You think they're going to throttle them. The fact that this is like the big rivalry game, that's what makes me think it's going to be a lot closer. Like you're right, Oklahoma is just not a very good team, and Texas looks really really good. But this game is just so weird. Like it seems like it's always a really close game, or like some team comes back after being down by so many. I think I'm going to take Oklahoma to be closer than the 14. I think this is going to be a close game. I don't know about like a field goal or touchdown or something like that. Maybe by 10. But I don't know. I personally don't think they're going to blow them out, but I could be very wrong. And speaking of blowouts, Mississippi State is no, I'm sorry. Mississippi State is going on the road to play Georgia at 3:15 on Saturday. The Bulldogs, as I mentioned earlier in the week on Monday, we had a preview show with Trey Tucker of Doghouse Podcast. Make sure you check that out. It gives you kind of the rundown on Georgia's team and this particular matchup, as well as a score prediction. Mississippi State and Georgia, Austin. This is a game that a couple years ago Mississippi State came in with Mike Leach and only had 47 scholarship players and made it a game for a little bit versus Georgia before they kind of pulled away. How's this game going to go?
Yeah, I mean, what's the line is 34. I like that. I think that's valid. Yeah, I got Georgia 45 to 45. I'm gonna say 45-13. I think we're going to get 2 field goals and a touchdown. I mean, it's Georgia. I mean, this schedule's so brutal. I mean, Carson Beck wants to bounce back. I mean, I forgot. Yeah, they played Auburn last week, but I mean, yeah, they're still feeling the repercussions from Alabama. I know they're still mad about that. They're going to want to run up the score against every SEC opponent, and I mean, let's be honest, they can. They have so many options and just so many. I mean, Dominic Lovett. I mean, they have just so many options to go at. We're not going to be able to stop Trevor Etienne. Offensively for Mississippi State, I mean, there's nobody. I mean, nothing. I don't know what we can do other than we gotta establish the run early, and we gotta establish the run through the entire game and just control the time of possession like we did against Texas, and maybe that will give us a glimpse at losing by like less than 17. I mean, there's no chance of us winning, just to keep it frankly, but yeah, we gotta establish the run. Johnny Daniels got to get going. We got to get everybody going, running the ball, and Michael Van Buren, he's got to make some big plays. He's got to show that. I mean, I don't even know what he's got to show. He's a true freshman quarterback playing in Athens. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, I don't have any expectations for him. I mean, there's nothing. But yeah, I'm saying 45-13, Georgia Bulldogs.
Do you think that Levy is going to go with the exact same type of game plan he did in Texas with running the ball and try to keep it away from? Like, do you think we're about to see that exact same formula?
Yeah, I know Levy's mentioned that he wants to establish the run early in the game, and I think that maybe we have a little glimpse of hope that like we can do this. And Johnny Daniels, I mean, he played good against Texas, man. If we keep him going, and I wish he'd play. I wish he'd be our starting running back. But if we can keep him going, maybe Van Buren gets on a couple runs, Chris Parson gets on a couple runs, if we make some plays and get the running game going, I think that's what Levy wants to do.
So you say 45-13 is your score? Is that where you're leaning?
Yeah, like I said, they want to run up the score, and if they wanted to, they can, because I don't think our defense can stop them. So yeah, I'm saying it's going to be 45. I think we're going to score 1 touchdown and then get 2 field goals.
Okay. I'd like to say that I'm a little more optimistic. I think Georgia's going to win this game. But I think Mississippi State's going to score maybe 1 more touchdown than they did at Texas, which it sounds so sad, but like Mississippi State fans should be really encouraged by if that happens. I think Georgia's going to win this game 51-20. I think there's going to be a lot of scoring in the game. I think Van Buren can squeak out 1 more touchdown, basically just by making some of the, cleaning up some of the things like knocking out the delay of games, trying not to take sacks. I was reading, whenever you think about the season, Blake Shapen had been sacked 15 times before his injury. Do you want to take just a guess real quick, how many times Michael Van Buren has been sacked without looking it up?
I think he got sacked 6 times?
In total, since he started playing. So he's played one full game and then a half game. He's been
Oh,
sacked
that's
8
true.
times.
Wow.
8 times. And he is more mobile, like in terms of like being able to escape out of the pocket than Shapen is. Man, he's he's in trouble. And you feel for the guy. Eight times through one full game, and whatever how many quarters of another. Yeah, Georgia's going to end up winning this game, obviously. And Mississippi State just got to look for little things. For Van Buren, I was talking about this yesterday with Neil McCready on yesterday's show. Make sure to check that out as well. Michael Van Buren is going to be able to look at this and look, what else can you throw at me? I've been on the road at Texas for my very first start. Like almost no one can ever say that for this team, number one team, Texas, going on the road at Georgia in Athens. Like, what else can you do to him? He's at that point, he has seen so much that like going on the road against, who's the team they're going on the road against? Well, Tennessee. I was about to say, well, I'm trying to think of a lesser person they're going on the road against, but Tennessee is going to be really, really, really difficult. But you've already gone on the road against 2 better opponents, in my opinion. Yeah, so it's great. It's great experience for Michael Van Buren, and I don't know how it could ever be harder. Like, it's so difficult to get through, man. It's so impossible. All right, we move into our Against the Odds segment. And Against the Odds, this is where Austin and I each make a money line pick of an underdog to win outright in the game. Austin, go with yours first.
I got you. I just want to bring up last week real quick. I said SMU beats Louisville, and I think Louisville was favored to win by 7 points. And then SMU, I said SMU was going to win, and they did. They pulled it out. So
That's true. That's a great point. Shout out to Austin.
Starting out 1-0. But this week in Death Valley, I'm giving LSU the win against Ole Miss. 6:30 kickoff. I mean, in Death Valley. I think Brian Kelly, this is a statement game for him, man. This is such a big game for Brian Kelly. I mean, man, he's been getting so much unbelievable hate. And I think, Ole Miss played really good against South Carolina. They absolutely embarrassed them. But LSU hasn't looked great this season. And what a way to bounce back against Ole Miss. And I think this is this is a massive game for Brian. If Brian Kelly wins this game, LSU fans are going to be feeling a lot better than if they lose this game. I think this is a huge game for just the whole university in total. But give me LSU. Obviously, Ole Miss is favored to win, but give me LSU.
That's big, man. We talked about this yesterday again on the show with Neil. If Ole Miss loses this game, their playoff path is pretty much closed because then they have to go play Georgia. And so this is a huge game for Ole Miss. Like, we get all that. But for LSU, like, the trajectory of their season, if they win this game, is completely turned around.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people aren't super happy with him, but if they get a top 5 win, at home versus this team, it will be huge. So that's interesting, man. I'll make my pick, and it's not the money line. I got Ole Miss winning that game. I think they're going to have it all together. Tyler Siskey mentioned today on McCready and Siskey that it's very likely that Bentley is going to be playing in this game. I don't know. I feel like Ole Miss is going to have it. LSU, just like you mentioned, defensively, they're just not the same team.
No.
But it's going to be a great game to watch for literally everybody else in the world. Austin and I will be with family, and a TV is not possible to have in this particular venue we're going to. So that's okay. For my money line pick of the week in the Against the Odds segment, I'm going with Oregon over Ohio State. Oregon is a 3-point underdog, and the same with LSU is a 3-point underdog against Ole Miss. I think Oregon defensively is a team that Ohio State's not seen, this season, and Oregon has not put it all together just yet. And so I don't know. I think even though Ohio State has incredible talent at the wide receiver position, and Will Howard doesn't make a lot of mistakes, I think Oregon is going to be able to keep them in check long enough to win by, I mean, literally maybe just a field goal. But I'm going with Oregon over Ohio State, and Ohio State will have their very first loss. This should be another incredible game for everyone who's able to see it. Austin, what's your thoughts?
I mean, I think it's a toss up game. I like that. I like that a lot. I'm gonna take Ohio State. I mean, Ohio State does not lose a whole lot of games that don't when they don't play Michigan. And so, Ryan Day's been terrible against Michigan, but I mean, he's been great against everybody else. So just for that, I'm taking Ohio State. Then with Chip Kelly's been really good there so far. Will Howard, I mean, Quinshon Judkins, they got Caleb Downs, they got a lot of guys who can flat out play football. And I think Ohio State's going to win. But I mean, a lot of Oregon fans are absolutely chirping them, talking about how, I mean, they're going to lose, and Oregon's such a tough place to play. I'm not buying any of that. I think Ohio State's going to go out there and win it.
All right. Well, hey, it should be a really incredible week 7. I'm really excited to kind of look back on this week. This is a huge week for a lot of teams. That their seasons can go one way or the other based upon this. Next week is a huge week. Georgia and Texas are going to face off in Austin, and by golly, we will be watching that game no matter what. It's gonna be incredible. Hey, thank you guys so much for watching. My Dogs Are Barking. This is week 7 picks and matchups. We're here on MPW Digital. Make sure you are subscribed to MPW Digital, closing in on 10,000 subscriptions, which is huge. And then also make sure you are following us on Twitter. It's just at My Dogs Pod. That's how you get all of our latest news. How you also get some of our clips from the show. You can follow on TikTok as well. But for the most recent news to stay up to date, make sure you're following us on Twitter at My Dogs Pod. Austin, any closing thoughts, my man?
Yeah, Hail State. To the Mississippi State fans, we got a big game on Saturday. I hope we can get to keep it somewhat close, like we did with Texas. That would be unbelievable. I would love for that to happen. And yeah, we're just going to see how our offense performs. Hopefully, our defense can play like they did in the first half. And yeah, Mississippi State fans, we got another week to endure against the top 5 team, and let's get through it.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for listening to the My Dogs Are Barking podcast.